Some games offer us deep, detailed, branching romantic narratives that keep us invested until the credits roll, and others don't. Whether it's limited screen time or a romantic relationship as deep as a spilled cup of water, today we're going to break down a few of the most disappointing romance systems in games. Games that maybe should have thought twice before including romance in their narratives. Up first is Starfield. Despite the fact that Starfield gives you many companions who can accompany you on your adventures, only 4 of those companions are actually potential romance options. This decision was unpopular with fans, who likely found themselves enjoying the character's company, wanting to be able to have their protagonist romance them, and then discovering that the character is not one of those 4 options. Well, what may help soften the blow is that you really aren't missing out on much if you can't or don't engage in the Starfield romance system. It's incredibly limited. If you do things that a character likes, you build affinity with them. You can flirt, and you'll want to talk to them frequently, have them accompany you on your adventures, and help them with their personal missions. Once your affinity is high enough, you can make a commitment to the character, and that's about it, the climax of the relationship. It doesn't feel like natural relationship building. There aren't really dates, there isn't any physical intimacy like kissing or hugging, and it leaves it all feeling more technical and hollow than romantic. Having only 4 options is lame, but it's even more lame that those 4 characters didn't at least get more detailed and unique romantic paths. Next, let's talk about Skyrim. Romantic is probably the last word I'd use to describe the relationship mechanics in Skyrim. Lots of options? Yes. Straightforward? Generally. But romantic? Definitely not. To get married in Skyrim, you'll need to acquire an Amulet of Mara, which can be purchased, found on remains, or acquired at the Temple of Mara after completing a quest. Once you have the amulet and you speak with a follower of Mara about the possibility of performing a marriage at some point in time, you'll put on your beautiful amulet and you'll seek out the many singles of Skyrim with one thing on your mind: marriage. If you've got your eyes on someone, they'll likely have a quest they need your help with, and once it's done, boom, they're completely in love with you. These quests are things like chopping wood, finding an item for your partner, or even beating your future spouse in combat, which is, just so romantic. Your fiance will meet you at the temple for your wedding, and you'll be married after a few lines of dialogue. That's it. No hugging, no kissing, and no personality. It feels more like crossing off an achievement than anything that makes your playthrough unique or special. These romances feel so transactional and boring, and it isn't even like the dynamics change post-wedding ceremony. You and your partner live together, sure, but they sort of just wander around repeating lines of dialogue as opposed to having a life with you as well as outside of you. Next, let's talk about Cyberpunk 2077. The most glaring issue with romances in Cyberpunk 2077 is how inconsistent they are. From pacing, to amount of content, to the overall quality, each romance option experience is pretty wildly different. I talked about this a bit in my ranking of the Cyberpunk 2077 romance options, but I'll say it again here. If you romance Panam or Judy, the experience is solid overall. But if you romance Carrie or River, you'll encounter insufficient buildup and awkward moments that really detract from the experience. It could certainly have an impact on someone's experience of the overall game because of the low quality approach that was taken with Carrie and River. Romances in general are also missing a lot of later game content and pieces that would have made them feel more consistent and solid throughout. Likely, the romances are an unfortunate victim of the very chaotic development of Cyberpunk 2077, but that doesn't make it any less hard to not miss what could have been. Next, we're going to talk about Fallout 4. I'm not trying to pick on Bethesda here, but the fact that multiple games of theirs are on this list might maybe point to an overall issue with their ability to do romances in their games. I don't know. That's up to you to decide. Romance in Fallout 4, like other Bethesda games on this list, unfortunately, has its issues. First and foremost, the romances in this game are so shallow. For an RPG, where branching stories and complexity is encouraged and honestly an expectation, the romances here are extremely simple, straightforward, and lack very much unique interactions. Bring a romantic interest as a companion, do things that they like in combat and conversation, and eventually they like you more and more. It doesn't feel unique, and it certainly doesn't feel like you have to work for it. It's especially apparent here because let's not forget that your protagonist lost their spouse. In theory, romance would be a very big deal for them, you know, exploring a new relationship after that loss. That could have been kind of an interesting thing to dive into with this game, but no. Pass this charisma check and your companion will fall even harder for you. That's about all that it takes. Finally, let's talk about Life is Strange 2. To me, the core issue with the romance options in Life is Strange 2 is that they just didn't feel like they fit the narrative of the game. The focus of Life is Strange 2 is Daniel and Sean stepping up to care for his brother and to have his back. Unfortunately, engaging in either of the romances in the game can negatively impact the brothers' relationship, and there isn't really enough time or interaction for either romance option to feel developed and logically someone or something that Sean would ditch Daniel for. I doubt that many players felt very attached to either Finn or Cassidy because they never got all that much screen time, and they both have some significant flaws to overcome to make these relationships make sense and feel right. This feels to me like the game wanted to explore Sean being a teenager and exploring relationships and that side of his life, but it just wasn't done successfully, and it just doesn't really fit with the overall focus of the game. So there you have it. Those are a few of my picks of romantic systems in games that just left us wanting more. It's not to say that these games are bad, but that these romantic systems failed at what they were meant to do: provide complicated and detailed romantic narratives that improve the quality of the game and that flow with the overall story. Let's talk about it in the comments though. What games do you think have disappointing romance systems? If you like more content like this, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.